Here's something that used to confuse me, and I hear it from a lot of people who are getting close to retirement. You watch one video and someone says, wait until 70 to claim Social Security no matter what. You watch another one and they say, claim early, take the money while you can. One expert says, spend freely in retirement, you've earned it. Another says, be careful, go slow, protect your portfolio. And you're sitting there thinking, which one is actually right? Here's what I want to show you today. Both pieces of advice can be completely correct. They're just meant for different people, facing different problems at different levels of retirement savings. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to look at a piece of retirement advice and immediately know, does this apply to me, or is it meant for someone completely different? That filter alone could save you years of following the wrong strategy. Let's get into it. Think about it this way. If you're a doctor, you don't give the same treatment to every patient just because they're all sick. You figure out what's actually wrong, and then you treat that specific thing. Retirement planning works the same way. Someone retiring with $120,000 saved is not solving the same problem as someone retiring with $3 million. They're in completely different situations, and the advice that helps one of them could genuinely hurt the other. That's the whole lens for today. 6 different wealth levels, 6 different problems. And once you know which one fits you, a lot of the noise starts to quiet down. Coming up, let's start with the first group. And you may recognize someone you know here. The first group includes people who reach retirement with very modest savings, or sometimes none at all. Before retirement, they typically earn somewhere in the $20,000 to $45,000 range per year. By the time they stop working, their financial accounts, if they have any, are under $150,000, often much less. For this group, Social Security isn't just a source of income. In many cases, it's the source. We're talking 80 to 100% of everything they live on. But here's something that might surprise you. Their replacement rate, meaning the share of their pre-retirement income that Social Security actually replaces, can be 70 to 90%. That's actually pretty high. So while their income is modest, retirement doesn't feel dramatically different from when they were working. The numbers are similar. The real challenge for this group isn't market performance, it's stability. A spike in utility bills, a big medical expense, rent going up. These are the things that create real strain because there's no financial cushion to absorb them. This is why for this group, the planning focus looks nothing like you see in most retirement videos. It's Medicaid planning, it's Social Security optimization, it's finding affordable housing options, not Roth conversions. The second group worked hard and saved something, but they can feel the thinness of that safety net every single day. Before retirement, they typically earned between $45,000 and $80,000 a year. By retirement, they may have between $150,000 and $500,000 set aside. Their income in retirement comes from 2 places, Social Security and careful withdrawals from savings. Their replacement rate tends to land around 60 to 75% of what they made before. Here's the thing. This is the group where anxiety really shows up. They have enough that they know the money could last if they're careful, but they also know it can't survive a severe market drop or 2 or 3 big financial shocks in a row. So they live thoughtfully. Every spending decision carries weight. They think about part-time work and early retirement. They watch their healthcare costs closely. Downsizing the house isn't a luxury conversation. It's often a math conversation. This isn't a group that's struggling in the way Tier 1 might be, but the financial margin for error is real, and they feel it. Here's something worth sitting with for a moment. Which of these first 2 groups do you think makes up most retirees in America? We'll look at the actual numbers later, and the answer might surprise you. This is the level where most formal retirement planning advice was actually written. Before retirement, these households earned somewhere between $80,000 and $150,000 a year. By the time they retire, they have somewhere between $500,000 and $1.5 million in investable savings. They may have a pension, they certainly have Social Security, and they have a portfolio. Their replacement rate, the share of pre-retirement income that their retirement income covers, tends to fall between 50 and 65%. Now, here's what makes this group different from Tier 2. Tier 2 households are managing with what they have. Tier 3 households have enough that retirement could realistically be funded from their portfolio, but only if they manage it well. That shift is huge because now the question isn't just, will I make it through? The question becomes, how do I turn this portfolio into income that reliably lasts for the rest of my life without running out? Researchers like Wade Pfau, David Blanchett, and Michael Kitces have spent careers studying exactly this problem for exactly this group. Safe withdrawal rates, sequence of returns risk, Social Security timing, portfolio allocation. If you've ever heard of the 4% rule, that was built for households in this range. This is why so much retirement content exists, and it's why most of it is built for this level. This is where the shift really begins to happen, because as we move up, the problem changes in a way most people don't expect. Let me show you what a very different kind of retirement problem looks like. Before retiring, these households earned between $150,000 and $300,000 a year. By retirement, they may have somewhere between $1.5 million and $5 million in total net worth. Their retirement income could range from $100,000 to $250,000 a year. At this level, we've moved past the question of whether retirement is funded. The question becomes, can we sustain the lifestyle we built without damaging our long-term financial picture? These households have meaningful wealth, but their lifestyle expectations are higher too, and that creates a new kind of pressure. Not scarcity pressure, but optimization pressure. Their planning conversations look very different. They're thinking about Roth conversions, moving money from a pre-tax retirement account to an after-tax account to reduce future tax bills. They're managing required minimum distributions, the government-mandated withdrawals from retirement accounts that begin at age 73. And they're watching for IRMA, a Medicare surcharge that kicks in when income crosses certain thresholds. This group spends far less time worrying about running out of money. They spend a lot of time worrying about keeping more of what they have. Here's something that might surprise you. Once you reach this level of wealth, the biggest financial threat is no longer the market. It's the IRS. These households came into retirement having earned between $300,000 and $700,000 a year. They've accumulated somewhere between $5 million and $15 million in net worth. In retirement, they may be drawing $250,000 to $600,000 or more per year. Here's the problem. If most of that wealth is sitting in traditional retirement accounts, like a 401k or a traditional IRA, at age 73, the government requires them to start pulling money out. Mandatory withdrawals every single year. Take someone with $5 million in a traditional IRA. Their first required minimum distribution at age 73 would be close to $190,000 before Social Security, before any other income sources, before dividends or capital gains. That single distribution can push them into a higher tax bracket, trigger Medicare surcharges, and create capital gains exposure all in the same year. Every year. The difference between a poorly planned withdrawal strategy and a well-planned one, at this level, can easily be hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Not because the goal is to avoid taxes, it's to avoid paying more than necessary because nobody sat down and planned it out. Their planning often includes multi-year Roth conversion strategies, careful tax bracket management, qualified charitable distributions, and trust structures that begin shifting wealth thoughtfully toward the next generation. At this level, households with $15 million or more in assets, the personal retirement question is effectively answered. There is more money here than this person could realistically spend. So the planning conversation isn't about funding their own life. It's about what happens to all of this wealth when they're gone. The focus shifts to estate taxes, trust structures, family governance, and philanthropy. It includes donor-advised funds and family foundations, lifetime gifting strategies, and preparing the next generation to be responsible stewards of significant wealth. That last part is one most people don't anticipate. At this level, it's not just about passing money down. It's about passing values down. decisions about what the wealth represents, who it helps, what it means. The financial problem here isn't scarcity, it's stewardship. Now, here's the part of this conversation I think matters most, because it's easy to watch a video like this and assume that the middle tiers represent most people. The data tells a very different story. According to data on U.S. households age 65 and older, the median retirement income is somewhere between $47,000 and $56,000 per year. That's not $150,000. That's not $300,000. That's closer to a single Social Security check and maybe a small savings withdrawal. Think about that for a moment. Half of all retirees are living on under $56,000 a year. And when we look at retirement accounts specifically, only about 54% of U.S. households have any retirement account at all, a 401k, an IRA, anything. Nearly half have nothing set aside. Of those who do have accounts, here's what the balances actually look like. 55% have less than $100,000. That's more than half of everyone with a retirement account. 29% have between $100,000 and $500,000. Just 8% have between $500,000 and $1 million. And another 8% have over $1 million. The average balance, around $600,000, sounds much higher than the median of $200,000. That gap exists because a small number of very wealthy households pull the average up. The average doesn't tell you where most people actually stand. The median does. When we map this onto the 6 tiers, Tier 1, the safety net group, likely represents 40 to 50% of all households. Tier 2, modest savers, another 15 to 20%. Tier 3, the retirement middle class, around 5 to 8%. Tier 4, upper middle class, roughly 5%. Tiers 5 and 6 combined, maybe 4 to 6% total. So when someone is making retirement content, including me, and they're focused on portfolio withdrawal strategies, Roth conversions, and RMD planning, they are speaking to maybe 10 to 15% of the population. That's not a flaw in the advice. It's a reminder that you need to know which conversation actually belongs to you. Here's a question worth sitting with. When you look at these tiers, which one feels like home right now, and which one are you working toward? We started today with a question. Why does retirement advice seem so contradictory? Why does one expert say wait until 70 for Social Security and another say claim now? Here's the answer. They're both right, for different people. The advice that makes perfect sense at Tier 3 can be irrelevant at Tier 1. The strategy that's essential at Tier 5 would never apply at Tier 2. Retirement advice isn't contradictory, it's contextual. Your retirement problem depends on where you are on this ladder, and that determines which advice actually belongs to you. I think there's something genuinely relieving about that. Because it means you don't have to carry all of this advice at once. You don't have to figure out estate tax planning if you're in Tier 2 just trying to make your savings last. And you don't have to stress about sequence of returns risk if you're in Tier 1, where Social Security is doing most of the heavy lifting. Knowing where you are doesn't just clarify what you should do, it clarifies what you can let go of. And that peace of mind, that's worth something. You don't need all the retirement advice out there. You just need the advice that belongs to your situation. If this helped you see your situation a little more clearly, I'd love it if you saved this video. It's one you might want to come back to as things change. And if you know someone who's sorting through conflicting retirement advice, this might be worth sharing with them. Comment below. Which tier feels like yours right now? Or which one are you aiming for? I read every single one. See ya! Take care of yourself.